Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fightful Prediction Show once again with me, Stephanie Chase. And today we are talking about AEW WrestleDream, and I am joined by one of my favorite new faces on YouTube, Novi. Hello, Novi. How are you?
I'm doing very good. This card is very exciting. There's a lot of fun matches on it. So, unlike other pay-per-view cards in the past, I'm very excited to talk about this one. This one's fun.
Yeah, I think it's like very good on paper. I think the card. I think like we'll get into maybe like the build and how we think things are going to go, but it's
hmm
certainly a stacked card, and AW always does deliver with the pay per view cards. Um, whether or not the build has been good or the outcomes, but they definitely always put on great pay per view shows. So it's always fun to talk about one. As usual, it's very long. I mean, last week I was here previewing Bad Blood, and that was a 5 match show. We are pretty much more than double that with WrestleDream, but that is what Tony Khan's like. He likes to give and give and give, doesn't he?
It's an AEW staple at this point.
It is. Well, Novi, I wanted to have you on because I've been enjoying your YouTube videos so much and how you break down different things. I think I first found you on the video about Ring of Honor,
hmm
which I thought was great. I absolutely love your video about why hate is important in pro wrestling, looking at Hangman and Swerve. I thought was just awesome. And your most recent one is who the aces are in wrestling,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, another great one. So I know you're going to be great to break down this card with me. And you guys in the comments, in the chat, get those chats in and tell us who are your picks for each of these matches because we got a lot to go through. We got a lot to go through. But before we get to that, let's hear from our lovely overlord, Sean Wassap, who is going to tell us all about Bet Online, our wonderful sponsors.
For years, you've seen BetOnline AG's odds on Fightful, whether it be wrestling, MMA, or boxing. That's who we trust. 25 plus years, they've been trusted online by millions. They've got a safe and secure environment. They've got payouts in minutes, high credit card acceptance, the earliest lines, the fastest payouts, and the industry's best bonuses. Whether you want to play games, whether you want to bet on basketball, MMA, boxing, wrestling, baseball, hockey, anything, check them out. You may say, wait, you can bet on wrestling? Yes, you can bet on wrestling. We've been giving you betting odds on wrestling for so long and giving you some good underdog picks as well. I think we hit a 9 in our first few months just working with BetOnline AG. So check it out for yourself. Of course, we want you to only bet what you can, and please bet responsibly. Check out our friends over at BetOnline AG.
BetOnline.ag. And if you're not sure who to bet for, me and Novi are going to help you out with our predictions. All right, let's start. We had a little chat beforehand, and we're going to start with the 0 hour. Just quickly, there may be one match in the 0 hour, there may be two, but let's start with the announced one. We have Ring of Honor's men's TV champion Atlantis Jr. defending against Brian Cage. Who've got for this one, Novi?
Well, Atlantis Jr. is a very special talent in CMLL. However, he gets a lot of bad rap over there because people call him a Nepo baby. Very tough stuff for Atlantis Jr. But when he's in there with a guy like Brian Cage, a really good base, someone he can flip off of, he can grab him out the air, all that cool stuff, I think it's going to give us a very fun, enjoyable match. I think Atlantis Jr. is probably going to get super over, as many luchadors do in AEW. And I don't know. This could be a good opportunity for them to move the belt off of him. I know that was kind of like a spur of the moment decision in some
Yeah.
ways. So honestly, I'm gonna say that Brian Cage gets to win here. I'm gonna say they do the title switch. They get it back on one of their guys after a very fun match. You give Atlantis a lot of shine, and we can kind of wipe our hands with that one.
I agree. I think it's going to go to Brian Cage. I a guy, an AEW guy. I think we will get maybe more into like the current state of Ring of Honor in one of our later matches, because I'm kind of suspicious about what they might be up to. But for me, like Bryan Cage makes sense, and I think this is going to be a really fun pre-show match. This is kind of what the pre-show should be: fun matches to get us all excited. What's better than a big guy like Bryan Cage going against someone like Atlantis Jr.? So lots of fun there. Next, if anyone cares, this is a Rampage spoiler, so you can mute us for, I don't know, 30 seconds. I think this is going to go in the pre-show. If it's on the main card, then I might want compensation from Tony Khan. We're going to have the MXM collection taking on the Acclaimed. This, for me, if I was there in the pre-show, this would be where I'd be getting my extra large Diet Coke for the rest of the show. I'm just going to go with MXM, unfortunately, because I think they're putting some work into trying to get these guys over. I know I had to sit through it at that Collision show last week. So I'm going MXM on this one. What do you think, Novi? The meme teams.
Yeah, the meme wrestlers are out to play here. I really hope this is 0 hour. I really don't want to watch this on a main card that's already very full and full of matches that'll probably go pretty long. Just to be different, I'll say the Acclaimed, because they seem to win matches I don't want them to win more often than not. So I'm gonna go with the Acclaimed here. MXM, they've been fine. They've been fun, enjoyable, but I don't think they should go much higher than this.
Yeah, I agree they shouldn't go much higher, but you never know. You never know, especially with the state of the tag division right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on to the main card, and a match that was announced this morning. Tony Khan up bright and early to give us the announcement of Hologram versus the Beast Mortos. 2 out of 3 falls match. I think this is going to be really, really good. These are 2 guys that are very kind of like internet over. Like everyone loves the Beast Mortos, and he's always great. Hologram making his Dynamite debut last night, and he's on something crazy like 13 wins or something before he got his big Dynamite debut. Collision staple. I'm gonna go for Hologram because they're pushing him, but I would love to see the Beast Mortos be elevated, move a little bit up the card. But Hologram seems like he's Tony Khan's little creation, Tony, and he loves things like that. So I think Hologram wins this, but I think it's going to be super fun. What say you, Novi?
I also agree with this. One thing I'll have to say is Viva la Mexico. Beautiful, beautiful sport coming out of there. These are 2 fantastic wrestlers. I think Hologram has really proved himself to be a steady hand. His match last night was very, very exciting. He does a lot of exciting things, but the Beast Mortos, he's so good, he earned himself a spot on the pay-per-view. That's how, like, he's been so consistent in the ring, has had such great matches with whoever he's done with, and they put him on the pay-per-view because of it. That's awesome. That's so sick. There's so much merit in that. I really enjoy it, but I think I'm probably going to go Mortos because I think they want to build up the new LFI. Hologram has not taken a loss. I think he can take a loss here, and I think this could be like one of those long-running feuds. I've seen very early comparisons to Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. Maybe something that goes a long time. They have a bunch of cool matches. I think that'll be a fun part of the shows, and I think it kicks off with a Mortos win. Just given he just joined a fun stable,
Yeah, there's so much support behind him, and there's a lot of support behind you in the chat, Novi. It's your friends from Late Night Grin. They say, "Oh my God, it's Novi!" Hello to the Late Night Grin crew. I've had Joe on here before talking to AEW. I love Joe. Kale said, "Miss Stephanie Chase, do not trust this man." Any comment to that? Any retort?
See, Kale was a very big believer in Julia winning the NXT Women's title. And I kind of knew where this was going to go because Roxanne Perez is the ace of NXT. She's the best women's wrestler in the US maybe right now, and Kale's just going to have to hold that L, I'm afraid. I mean, I know he's lashing out. I know we've had a little spat on Twitter a couple times over it, but you just got to hold that. Remember the picture, Kale, of Roxanne holding up that belt. It's not going to change. She's going to be Vicaire too. Hate to say it.
I love it. I love that you bringing in your friends and people that you're feuding with over NXT Women's Wrestling.
Shout out Kale.
Let's take a little break from talking about matches, because last night we found out that Swerve Strickland would be returning on this pay-per-view. So I thought he'd return on the show, thought it would be a surprise, but no, they've gone ahead and announced it. And Mr. MVP was looking on because he's been telling Swerve that he can do much better than Prince Nana. And we've got Shelton Benjamin heading up the complaints department. So is this going to go where we think it's all going to go? Are we going to get Swerve coming out to kind of give his answer or confront MVP, only to be confronted by Mr. Bobby Lashley?
I think we're on Big Bob Lash watch. I thought he was going to wrestle a match for a while there. I thought it was going to be against Shelton. You know, Shelton was maybe going to deal with some complainers. You know, maybe Swerve was going to complain about MVP. But that's what I thought it was going to be. But the fact that this is a segment, it's Big Bob Lash. It's just got to be.
It has to be. I think we can use that as a segue into the next match, because when Darby Allin, we're going to talk about Darby Allin now, and when he put out that open challenge, I was really thought it was going to be Bobby Lashley. And then I thought we would get the return of Swerve there, because like they're both Washington guys. And I thought, because Bobby Lashley is like the kind of guy that Tony would love to book Darby against, someone like so much bigger than him, so visually different. I think they'd have a class match. And then when I saw the spoilers from last week's show where it was like, nah, Brody King came out and accepted the challenge, and I was like, oh. But these guys like have a big history together. They're both Washington guys, so like I get it. But it doesn't mean I'm not disappointed, right? It doesn't mean that I don't think that maybe my booking would have been like a little bit more exciting. But we had Darby Allin and Brody King. They did a segment last night, and I was watching on Dynamite, and I was like, Darby's fired up here, and it's a fiery segment. They're plugging this match, but at the same time, like when I looked back at it, like on paper, I was like, oh, I'm not sure that this was actually good if you kind of take away like the fire from it, because you have Darby, who's now he's become like a little AEW mascot in a very almost like cheesy way. You know, everything's about AEW and I'm here for AEW. And then Brody, like he put out a challenge to anyone. Brody accepted it by attacking him. And then we get Darby like getting him with a rock on
just
Dynamite.
A rock from the pocket.
Yeah, just carrying around a rock. So I'm not sure about like the build to this one, and I'm not even sure kind of the purpose, other than I do think that they want Brody King established away from the House of Black, which I think is the best thing for him. But as far as the winner, I guess I'm going to have to say Darby, because given what happened with him giving up his title shot, getting like slaughtered by Moxley, I think he needs to take a W. How do you feel about this one?
I think you brought up some great points. I mean, you fantasy booked the prospect of Bobby Lashley and Darby Allin, which would be an incredible match. So I can understand being a little let down by this being the match instead. I think there's also some to be said about Darby going from, a world title challenge to maybe something like this. It hasn't been built up so fully throughout the last few weeks. But when I take into account their history, and I remember back to the Casino Battle Royal, I remember, Brody was hanging Darby from the top rope, and then Darby did it to him with the chain. I remember loving those moments. And I've loved their match together too. They had a match before, and I thought it was really fun. Darby works best when he has a big guy to bounce off of and to throw him around a lot. I think this will lead to a very, very fun match here. I understand, I think one day we'll get to Bobby Lashley. Bob Lash will have his chance to throw Darby into some things. Yeah. But I think as it stands now, I'm looking forward to this. These two have very, very good chemistry. And of course it does. It's Darby. It's good chemistry with anyone. As for the winner, I think Darby is still on track for the world title. so I think he's got to take the win. I think that's where it's got to go. I think he's still building to Mox. We're going to get there. I'm going Darby.
Yeah, me too. It would be nice to see Brody take a win, and I do think they're like trying to bust him out of the House of Black. But I guess if you want to give him a win, Darby's not the person to put him
Yeah.
against. Yeah. Let's move on. What I want to do next. Do you want to talk about the AEW Tag Team Championship? The Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson against Private Party, the team that beat them all those years ago when we were young and AEW was young, and it felt like there was this great tag division and new faces coming up. But now I'm going to go to you on this one first before I say what I think about this match. What's the temperature for you on the Young Bucks versus Private Party?
The temperature check on the AEW Tag Division. I've tried my best to run from it. I can't hide any longer.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a good match. I enjoy Private Party. I think they're a very fun tag team. I think when they've been given the chance to do something more substantial, I think they made the most of it. And they've been good specifically the last few weeks. They've given Isaiah the chance to talk. I think he's a very fun talker. When he's given, something good to talk about, he's fiery. He always makes sure to like connect with the crowd. That's one thing they've done really well throughout their years in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Young Bucks have been better, so I'm a little bit more like excited for this match because the Bucks for a while there, they took that big long break and they were having matches that just weren't very inspiring to me. They didn't make me feel
Yeah.
in some one way or another, but they've corrected themselves. They've had good matches since then. The match at New York Grand Slam was incredible. I've adored that match. So I think this will be a fun one. I think it'll be enjoyable. I don't think Private Party is going to get the win. I think they're kind of dealing with some business right now with old Stokely Hathaway. I think he's probably going to lead them, build them up. I think they'll eventually get there if there's any team to do it. But I think I have to go the Young Bucks here. I mean, it hasn't been enough time. It hasn't been enough time. I need to see them be good for a little bit longer before they drop those belts.
To me, the Young Bucks, like, they're kind of like a boyfriend or a girlfriend that's really not very good or into it week to week, but then they give you like a massive gift that you remember till the next time. And I think like their big gift came at Grand Slam with that match against Ospreay and Fletcher. But really, when you take the whole of it, they're just not that into being tag champions or present enough, or they're just not giving enough for me. And they will turn it on absolutely when they have to. And then they'll have a great match. And then all of us that thought that they were like maybe washed or not into it or whatever, we'll have to eat our words and be like, we're back. We're so back with the Bucks. And then we'll have like 5 dynamites of them doing nothing. And us
5 dynamites of them not even being on the show at all.
Yeah.
Like last night.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know. So I would let Private Party win to just give it to a fresh team and like almost just reset the tag division. Do I think that Tony's going to do that? No, I really don't think he is. I think it's going to be same old, and I think the Young Bucks are going to come out of this as champions. Like maybe there'll be a rematch down the line when Private Party take care of that business with Stokely. But yeah, I think the Young Bucks are going to win. But I would have
I
Private
think there
Party
will be a
win.
rematch too. I think we will get to it. I think this is just an early start. I think this will kind of lead to Private Party doing more interesting things, hopefully being focused, given matches on TV even. I think that would be very fun. But I think the Bucks are going to hold those belts. One, because like you said, I don't think Tony's going to reset the tag division. He's a big Bucks guy. But also because we have the prospect of what's it called? Wrestle Dynasty, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And Kenny Omega and Hiroshi Tanahashi challenged the Young Bucks. And I think if Tony Khan saw that match and sees the prospect of what that could be, I think he's going to want that for the tag belts. So that also kind of lends me some background here to pick the Bucks, more evidence,
Yeah. We have a super chat here. Thank you to Kid Lee of The Dance, who says Novi of YouTube fame.
Many are saying.
Thank you so much for that, Kid. And we have another super chat here from Karan Murachandi. I'm really sorry if I said that wrong.
That was a good try, no matter what.
Thank you. The Young Bucks are terrible at wrestling TV. They've almost never done a great wrestling angle that isn't hashtag friendship. They are great at matches on pay-per-view. Agree or disagree, Novi?
Very aggressive about the Bucks. I'm a bigger Bucks fan than that, but I mean I agree with the last part there. They do have great matches on pay-per-view, so I think they'll probably have another one here, but I can kind of understand the criticism just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I think they have great matches at pay-per-view. I think they are much, much, much better wrestlers than they are at anything else that makes up what it takes to be a professional wrestler. I don't think they're good at week-to-week storylines and booking, and I think they're often kind of cheesy and too kind of like too meta, really, for me. But are they one of the top, like, probably 3 tag teams of all time? Like, in my opinion, in my heart, like, yes. I think that they've never fully got how to be like weekly wrestling characters. And I think there is the issue of them not being present enough.
I think that's an issue now. I think when it comes to them being like weekly TV characters, I think they had it down, nailed in 2021. That was their best time, and I'm a little more like forgiving of the meta stuff, especially when like I think the Elite do it better than most do, better than almost anyone do, especially during like the Hangman Saga and stuff like that. I think that was probably their best time on TV, but I think there's definitely those kind of criticisms can be levied against them now because, you know, they don't really show up too often. You know, they sign their big deals, got a little break here and there, you know.
Yeah. Well, hey, Young Bucks, if you guys want to prove that you're in it for the tag division, let these young private party lads have a win. Let's shake things up a bit.
Add a little spice.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Ring of Honor World Championship. Mark Briscoe defending against Chris Jericho. So, Novi, as I was saying, I found your stuff when I was looking into Ring of Honor. What the heck is going on with Ring of Honor? And that was a couple of months ago. And I feel like after that, we were all kind of told that Ring of Honor was going to get more care going forward when they did this residency. Don't think that came to fruition. But we have Chris Jericho, who now wants a 9th title. So he's going back after the Ring of Honor World Championship. I honestly don't know why, because Mark Briscoe is on AEW every week as a kind of middle card guy, rather than that it would be fair if you actually didn't know that Mark Briscoe was the Ring of Honor World Champion until Jericho brought it up. A couple of things about this. Firstly, it makes me speculate if they are again trying to get Ring of Honor on TV and doing the exact same thing they did the last time by making Jericho champion. Because I mean, my belief is he was Ring of Honor champion before to get them on TV, like how he did help AEW get on TV. And the network execs were like, no, we've done that one. Like we give you the show. We give you a show for when he was champion of like an actual company. Like we don't know, you know. And I wonder, are they doing that play again? And then this is also another instance, I feel, of Jericho thinking that he can bring something out of someone. And Mark has been very funny, has a ton of personality, but he's not been serious. So Chris comes along and is like, I can make you serious again. I'll just mention your dead brother and I'll bring it out of you. And it will be another hit, like when I taught Daniel Garcia how to dance and brought that out of him. And I'm just very skeptical on this one. What do you have to say about this match before we get into who we might think will win?
when I made that video about Ring of Honor a few months back, it was during a time where, like you said, they told me it would get better. They told me that we would be more serious. They told me we'd put a lot more stars, put a lot more care into it. And I think this match is kind of the perfect representation that they just haven't. Because I think anyone knows that Chris Jericho is not good anymore. Like, the TV is bad, the matches are bad, he can't go like he used to. And even when he had his last ROH World title run, he could still go then. I thought he was great with
that was the last time he was proper good.
Yeah,
like
that was the last time he could really go in the ring. And then since then, it's been a lot of misses. And Mark Briscoe had that wonderful moment winning the belt against Eddie Kingston, doing it for Jay on the anniversary. And now you're telling me he's going to lose that belt to Chris Jericho, of all people? It feels very scary. I also think that you're correct in your assumption that they're probably going after another TV deal. I don't know why they think Jericho's going to be the one to do it for him. But you know, whatever worked last time, might as well go at it again. Yeah.
It's a real indictment on the state of Ring of Honor that, they did tell us it was going to get better. So this AEW pay-per-view, we have a challenger who's not been on Ring of Honor at all. Like, it's as if Jericho came up to Ring of Honor to make this challenge and to get some more people to watch Ring of Honor and whatever. He just did it on a Dynamite. And Mark winning the Ring of Honor Championship was a really big deal for people that love the Briscoes, have followed the Briscoe story, and everything that happened with Jay. But yet his title run has been nothing special because of how Ring of Honor is. Yeah. And now we have the big AEW star come in and just asking for a title shot. And part of me thinks that Jericho could win this. And that's to do with they want a TV deal conspiracy. But then I need to ask, like, why put that on Jericho, who didn't deliver it for you last time? And when he was Ring of Honor champion, other than that time that Colt Cabana wore the wrong socks, he did have really good matches. So yeah, it's just so I don't know. And I also get the feeling that even if Mark wins, that this won't be the end of Jericho being in this picture.
Yeah, it's that's the thing with Jericho, though. You know, I feel like that feeling is just we've already been through. We've experienced it countless other times where it feels like, oh, okay, well, even if they do the title switch, even if Jericho does win the match, we'll probably move on, huh, guys? But then he's involved with these groups, and I think he'll keep himself involved with the conglomeration because Jericho likes to leech off these popular groups. And the conglomeration, they got popular, they got over, everyone started loving on them, and then Jericho showed up. And now things look a little more dire, you know? It's very scary, and it's a very noticeable, like, rough trend with Jericho that I wish that TK or whoever else would start to buck, because it's not fun to watch. No one likes Jericho anymore. I'm sorry. Like, he's got name value. He still does. But with the name value isn't enough to make me sit through one of those matches anymore. It's not, you know?
It's certainly true that I think people don't like him anymore. And maybe it's because we're both on Twitter, we're both part of this wrestling bubble, and maybe like it's more like those kind of people, but I don't see him getting those good reactions in the shows. And I think that he's in a weird place in AEW that, depending on how charitable you are to him, is either sad or deserved, where he's hanging on to being a weekly character. He had that really long feud with Hook that I thought was very bad and really turned me off Hook, because it kind of putting him in that week-to-week position just kind of exposed him to me, where I was like, actually, this guy isn't very good, which is unfortunate. But if you have to keep Jericho around, and I do think that Jericho shoulders way too much of the blame for this, because it is Tony keeping him on TV in this way, could we at least get better ideas? Because to do this long fucking storyline over the FTW Championship, and then the next great idea from Jericho and or the 27 Riders is he'll go after the Ring of Honor title. What? Like, can we
Yeah.
not at least give him better ideas to do? Okay, so if we have to pick one, um, I'm gonna pick Mark Briscoe building to a rematch at Final Battle where Jericho appears on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, because that's never
Oh,
been done before. It's never been done before. Who are
oh.
you picking?
Look, my heart and my soul and my spirit wants Mark Briscoe to keep this belt. I love Mark Briscoe, but I think my fear will probably be realized, and I think Jericho will probably win the belt. Because right when we all don't want it to happen, right when we all aren't enjoying it, right when we all think, oh, there's no way, it always seems to happen. So I'm
Mhm.
unfortunately I'm gonna have to go with Jericho.
Okay. Okay, moving on. We have TNT champion Jack Perry defending against Katsuyori Shibata. Um, wow. Okay, this one I'm gonna say I think Jack Perry wins because I think it was telegraphed on Dynamite. DG Daniel Garcia.
Hmm.
He's come home and he's called his shot. So I think Jack Perry's winning this one easily. What
Hmm.
say you, Novi?
I think Jack Perry is winning this as well. I think it's pretty obvious. Shibata just he kind of just comes back and has great matches, and I fucking adore Shibata, so I have no problem with
Mhm.
that. But I think you're on the right track. They're definitely building to a DG title win. Jack Perry's title reign as a whole, we could have some conversations about how that went, but for now,
Mhm.
I'd say Jack retains, and I think we're building to a DG match at the next pay-per-view.
I think when we're looking at Jack Perry's title reign, it's been a little bit flat. And I think what he needs is a really great feud in it. And I
Hmm.
think Garcia can give him that rather than like a Shibata that just feels like challenger of the month or of the week or however we
Hmm.
want to put it. Um, just because of like how they present Shibata and what they do with him
Yeah.
and who he is in AEW. So yeah, I agree. Jack Perry win, and then I guess maybe Full Gear Daniel Garcia, and they'll have some time to build that up.
Yeah, it'll be good though because like you said, Jack has needed a feud, has needed something he can sink his teeth into, and if it'll be at the very end. It's very unfortunate that it took us this long, but I think DG can bring something fun out of him. So
Hmm.
hopefully that feud ends up being as good as we think it might be.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be interesting because of Jack's like position, as a pillar, and
Yeah.
Danny's like kind of like next gen. And I'm not going to say he could show up a little bit, but maybe I am saying that.
I don't even know if you have to say it. I feel like we're all kind of just thinking it. I feel like there
Yeah,
might be some surpassing going on here coming up soon,
for
but
sure.
we'll have to wait and see.
All right, up next we have Hangman Page versus Jay White. Now, anyone that watches anything that I do knows that Jay White's my favorite wrestler in the whole world, and he's the only person that I will show true bias towards. And my other favorite AEW wrestler is Hangman Page. So this is my dream match, even though it's a match that's happened before, and even though it's not something that is hard to put together. It's not like
Hmm.
freaking Roman Reigns versus versus Darby Allin or something. This to
Yeah.
me is a dream match: Hangman Page versus Jay White. Um, and I just wish that this feud had been longer than the match. Now, maybe this is just the first match, and we're going to have more. But I feel that Hangman, did such an amazing feud with Swerve.
Hmm.
Really like my favorite feud of the year. And even like the year before, like that whole thing has been really amazing. And then since then, it's been like Swerve's been away, Occupy Hangman, and now Jay White returned. And I just feel like these guys, like for me, could have had some really good like back and forth promos,
Hmm.
and it just didn't happen. We just kind of had Jay calling him out because Jay is gonna avenge the people that stopped him from getting the title. So
Hmm.
Hangman than Christian. And Hangman, he wasn't even on Dynamite. So for me, like, it's the build has been totally flat and just not what I wanted if you're putting these two guys together. I do think it's going to be a really good match. And I really think like Jay has to win for me, because maybe just because I'm his number one supporter. Well, I'm not his number one supporter. My mom is his number one supporter, but I'm his number two supporter. And I've just hated and like the whole usage of Jay and AEW so much.
Yeah.
Especially the MJF feud where they just made him look like a knob in that match. It was terrible. So I'm like, okay, he's back. I think we need to reset him. Putting him in there with Hangman is really cool. I do just wish that we had more weeks to build it up to, so that the people who are like on the fence with Jay could see more of what he has to offer, rather than just like, I thought his promo on Dynamite was good, but at the same time, it kind of felt like he was speaking into a void. Like,
because you wanted the back and forth.
Yeah, because the crowd feedback didn't even seem there. It was like, it was a tiny crowd anyway, but I find it quite awkward when he said, "Oh, now you're cheering me," basically. And I was like, are they? I'm not totally sure. So anyway, I think that Jay should win because I think he needs it. And I think that you could always work a loss into Hangman's story. But what are your thoughts on Jay White versus Hangman Page?
I get this being a dream. We all have to have our personal dream matches. I think Hangman is my comfort wrestler on AEW. I think I love seeing him no matter what he's doing. And I really like Jay White. I loved him in New Japan, and like you said, his booking hasn't been great since he joined AEW. I think this is maybe a chance though to right the wrongs of the past, because these two guys are very good at weekly TV. They're very good at talking and making these things matter. I really wish there was that back and forth. You made me think about it, and now I'm like, we needed that. But I think we will get to it, because I don't think this feud ends here. They've already had a few matches in the past, and I've enjoyed those matches. I think this will be better than that, because Jay is in rare form right now, and Hangman is on another level after the Swerve match. So I think we have some high potential here. Like I said, this feud will continue, so it makes it hard to pick a winner here. But I think you bring up a great point. Hangman can lose. It can work his way into the story. I think Jay White needs it more. Coming off a return, he's trying to become the babyface that they all see in him. So yeah, I think Jay's got to take the win here. If you want to make a star, you want to make a babyface star in particular, you haven't beat a top heel in the company. And while it hurts my heart a little bit, because I love Hangman Adam Page, I think you'll be okay. I think Jay would be hurt much worse if he were to lose. So I'm going with Switchblade.
Yeah, Hangman is your comfort wrestler. He's my main character wrestler. Like, when he's there, everything feels a little bit more okay. And I think that if we're going to continue this, I think we could have Jay win. And since Jay set out on Dynamite that he wants, Christian as well, I think we can have Jay beating Hangman, thinking like, that's my business finished. But Hangman, because he's quite out of control mentally, is not going to take this. And maybe he gets like a little bit of an obsession with Jay for a while Swerve is busy doing Hurt Business stuff. His focus comes on Jay, and then we can get some weeks of great promos and like run it back at full gear. When I'd be there for it, and it would be even better.
There's some ulterior motives coming out here on this show.
There are. I do have ulterior motives for everything. But yeah, I think that Jay should win this, and I think it's going to be a really good match. But I really hope, for Jay's sake, just because of the booking and because I know some people aren't fully on board with him, which is cool because like, you haven't really had that big a reason to get fully on board with him. So I totally understand anyone that's like, why would he be your guy? But yeah, and if you have time today, go watch other Hangman Jay matches. Go watch the two of them in New Japan, like press conference style stuff, and see them talk. And maybe you'll just, get more into this. But yeah.
I get where you're coming from too, and also I think you brought up a good point. Jay White needs to have a good pay-per-view performance. I think them
He
setting one
does.
up with Hangman, Hangman's always gonna be great. He's that Rock. He's always gonna give you a good match. I think this could be really good. I think it could maybe steal the show. I don't want to necessarily say that, but I think it could genuinely be that good. These two are just that special a wrestlers. So I think when I look
Yeah.
at this card, my eyes scan from top to bottom, if there's any match that could really stand out as like something people kind of sleep on a little bit more, it's probably this one.
I would love it if they stole the show. I would.
It'd mean
I
a lot
love
for
that for
you
them.
in
It would mean a
particular.
lot. It would mean a lot. I'd crack open some champagne like I did when Jay won the IWGP Championship at like at like 11 a.m. I cracked a mini champagne all those years ago. That's how long I've been on that train. All right, let's move over to the one women's match on the card. We have Mariah May defending against Willow Nightingale. Who've you got for this one, Novi?
Mariah May's title reign, it was one that I was really pushing for. I got some
Mm,
pushback from Caden Lee, who we saw earlier in the chat, who was very on the Tony Storm train. But I thought, let's give Mariah the ball. Let's see what she can do. Let's have her run with it. And I was excited to see what it looked like. And
mhm.
the first few weeks, there have been a lot of misses. I don't think she's really stepped it up in the ring. I don't think she's really stepped up to being champion in a lot of ways. But the last few have corrected things a little bit, and I think it's building to what should be a very good match with Willow. Willow, to me, on talking about the other side of this match, is the babyface of a generation if she's given the
Yeah.
chance. I think she connects with people on another level. It's something Mariah has kind of struggled with since she's become
Mhm.
champion, and even before that. So I think if they want to kind of give it a little more stability, give it a little more long running, saying that something that people could be interested in, I think Willow's probably the right choice. And I know we're trying to get to a Tony Mariah match. I get that, but it doesn't really need the title at the end of the day. I think that could be perfectly fine on its own for the Grand Slam Australia show.
I think Mariah's title reign has been really flat, and I think it's half on the booking, half on her. I think that when this Mariah Tony storyline was happening, it wasn't for everyone, and it probably wasn't for me, if I'm honest. But one thing you could say about it was that it was thought through. They had storyboarded this.
Hmm.
They they got everything,
They had a
and
goal.
they had a goal, yeah, and they executed it all very well. And I thought their match at Wembley was fantastic. But then I feel like since then, she's she just doesn't have a character because she was playing off, being that character with imitating Tony, and she
Hmm.
just didn't have anywhere else to go. And they haven't really set her up very well. And it's usually the problem with the booking in the women's division when you think that it's going good and when you think, oh, we could finally be cooking here.
Hmm.
They have like one idea. And I think we've kind of seen that with the conversation that's been happening with Chris Statlander, because her and Willow had such a good feud. And then Chris just randomly becomes a baby face
Hmm.
and ditches Stokely, and people are annoyed about that. So they didn't really have like a good follow up for both Willow and Chris, and that actually kind of makes sense to where they were going.
Yeah.
So the women's division is kind of like that all around. They never just 100% get it. But I think that right now, Willow is definitely like the female kind of ace of the company. I think
Yeah.
that she she is that baby face. Like she is very Bailey in a way.
Mm.
What Bailey could have been, NXT
Yeah.
Bailey, but before they decided to like turn her heel and everything. She's just so likable and so
Yeah.
great. And I would just I would put the title on her, but I'm not sure if they're ready to take it off Mariah. I feel like they want to continue this experiment because it is quite rare to put a world title on someone like as new as Mariah was
Hmm.
when she got it. And I admire that, but then also I don't think they actually had a proper plan for this feud. And I think the best bit of TV that's happened since Mariah was champion is Willow pouncing her last night backstage. That was really cool. Like that
Yeah.
was like the best.
It's
So
it's really unfortunate. I really wish they would have had a plan for her because I was so into it. Like you said, it doesn't happen very often for someone to be given a world title so young and so new into a company. But it's just it's unfortunate the booking, you know. But like you said, Willow's kind of been killing it. She's brought her back a
mhm,
little bit. She's brought her to the level she was at before winning the world title in a lot of ways, and has given her some very exciting segments. So
yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna stick with Mariah, though I would like it to be Willow. I think.
I think I'm gonna go Willow. I don't. I would understand sticking with Mariah. I'd understand kind of
Mhm,
playing this out, maybe giving her something more after the fact. But I think we've waited so long with Willow. We've had her
mhm.
lose so many shots for this title. I think why not? Let's do a surprising thing. It's something that not everybody would be expecting. Let's do something fun. Why not?
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think we've gone for many title changes on the show, really. So this is one where you could do that.
Hmm.
All right, we're coming close to the end, guys. We have now the international champion Will Ospreay defending against Ricochet and Takeshita. It's a three-way. Um, it's this is going to be really interesting. I do kind of feel like Ricochet is a third wheel, and I don't know if being a third wheel in this
Yeah.
situation actually makes you more likely to win because of the stuff you could do with the
Hmm.
other two. This one confuses me. What? How are your feelings on this, Novi?
Well, I like flippy wrestlers. I'm gonna
Yes.
enjoy this match. I was there in person for Ospreay and Takeshita before, so that's kind of what makes it feel like a third wheel situation for me. Is because
Hmm.
like I would just much rather see that match just on its
Yeah.
own. But a lot of people compare it to the Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, there's one AJ Styles three-way. This could maybe get to a level like that just because these guys are so dynamic. They're so fun to watch in the ring. I don't think it'll get to that. I don't think it'll reach those heights. But I think it'll be a very fun burst of energy wherever they put it on this show.
Hmm.
Yeah, Ricochet does kind of feel like a third wheel, which kind of makes me think that they might do another shock here. But since I
Hmm.
already predicted another shock with Willow, I think they'll probably just go with Ospreay, and then we'll probably see an Ospreay Takeshita rematch not long down
Yeah.
the line. Unless Takeshita could be he could be C2 bound. Who knows?
I want Takeshita to. Uh, I mean, like we were saying with Willow, it's like time to pull the trigger. I think it really is in Takeshita. I would like
Hmm.
him. I would love him to win, and then I would love him to have a feud with Okada and then unify those belts so that we're one belt
Ooh,
down. That
that'd be
would be
good.
really good. I don't think they're going to do that with the C2 coming up. I think the C2 feels like it's either Takeshita's or Garcia's to win.
Mm.
And because Garcia had such a great showing last year, if he ends up beating Jack for the TNT title, like we predicted might happen in the very near future, I could
Mm.
see him being tied up with that, and then Takeshita being the C2 guy. Um, this is really hard to call. I just kind of feel like
Yeah.
Ricochet might just win it like so that Will and Takeshita can keep feuding,
They can
and
clash.
Ricochet can have those TV matches for the title. Maybe Ricochet wants to travel around the world
I
as
think there's
well.
a good shot for that. He was in GLEAT last week, so
Hmm.
he could want to make more Japan dates. I also think we kind of I'm getting a little hint that maybe we move over to Ricochet and have Osprey and Takeshita go in the C2, and that could be a
Mm,
semifinal or a final that would really ramp
yeah.
things up. Because my full prediction is that Takeshita and Okada face at Wrestle Dynasty after Takeshita wins the C2.
Hmm.
But that's a match you'd want to do in a tournament like that, in such a stacked tournament that you've already presented to be such a big deal. Having that rematch in there would be a big thing. So I think we could see that too.
Yeah, I think we're kind of on the same page with Takeshita and the C2. And then, yeah, doing that match in January, Okada Takeshita would be
In
amazing
Japan, in
in
Tokyo Dome.
Japan. I like that would mean a lot. And I feel like a lot of people are like signposting Danny for that tournament, but I think he's gonna go the TNT route and
I
be
agree.
like TV wrestler. So in that case, fuck it. I'm gonna say Ricochet wins. Ricochet wins, and then we see him in like a Rev Pro and stuff like that, having
Hmm.
just some little holidays because he was in the Fed for so long and he could only wrestle there. I think he's one of those guys that kind of wants to do that, proving himself all over the world, and uh, maybe he'll
Yeah.
actually do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
If there's anyone that could do it, I think it's gonna be him. And I'm not gonna lie, you kind of convinced me with this. I think I'm on board with this. Osprey is one to also lay down for his friends, and I think you'll probably lay down for Ricochet. I think Ricochet is
mhm.
actually gonna win. You've done some good convincing here with the traveler, world traveler,
Yeah,
Ricochet.
I think, yeah, Ricochet wins, and then hopefully in January, it will be like Takeshita Okada. That'll be
Mhm.
amazing. Uh, but yeah, I think I Ricochet, guys, Ricochet. Put your money on Ricochet. Don't blame us though if he doesn't win. It's Tony Khan's fault. All right, it's our main event. It's Bryan Danielson versus John Moxley. Bryan Danielson is retiring from full time wrestling when he loses this belt. That stipulation, I think, has been very hard to book week to
Yeah.
week. And I just feel like the moment in Wembley when he won was amazing. Just great moment. Brie, his kids there. And I feel like we've been on like 3 times speed since that night of getting through things.
Yeah.
The very fact that we did the Nigel match, and it's been really strange. And last night on Dynamite, they're saying this could be the last time Danielson ever wrestles on Dynamite, and I'm like, I fucking hope not, because it doesn't feel like it
Yeah.
doesn't feel important. And Moxley, this new character has been great. He's really, really good at it. I love his little videos that open Dynamite, but like there's just something lacking there. And because that character is so strong, it feels like a lot of people think that Moxley has to win. But at the same time, I'm like, so is this really it with Bryan and this title reign and like the end of his full time career? I don't know. I
Mhm.
think this has been really difficult, and I'm actually conflicted
Mm.
here on who might win. How do you feel?
I think it's been very obviously very difficult for them to kind of display, oh, this is going to be Bryan Danielson's last run. We're getting down to
Yeah.
the end here. I don't think they've pushed that as much as they maybe should have. And even still, like you said, it's on 3 times speed. We've been getting through so many things. The Nigel match, even still, I think we're missing some things.
Uh-huh.
I was basically begging for the Roderick Strong. I was begging for the Samoa Joe match. Those are ones that I really wanted to get to.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't know. It is very tough. I think there has been some evidence to point to maybe Moxley loses this. But
Mm,
if you watch some of Danielson's matches as of late, I think it's pretty clear that man is beat up. I don't necessarily think it's the neck, but it's something. He needs
hmm.
something. He needs to go away for a little while. The moment I didn't think they should have done it. I made a whole point about it. I made a whole video about them not doing the Bryan Danielson title win. But when I got it, I was okay with it. This run, I didn't expect it to be amazing. They kind of said, "Hey guys, Danielson is really beat up. I don't think you're gonna get
Yeah.
what you want." And then we didn't really get what we wanted. So it's a little unfortunate. It's very spooky. It's very unpredictable. But I think I have to go with Moxley. It just feels like the time for Danielson to step away a little bit. Just to he needs to get right. He's got to get healthy. And Moxley,
Mhm.
he's been a game changer. Moxley for so long felt like he was completely done with wrestling TV. It felt like he was just
Yeah.
annoyed at it. And now
Yeah.
instead of just being done, he's channeling that and telling you that he thinks it sucks on TV. And I've really enjoyed it so far. I've really enjoyed him having something to sink his teeth into. I've enjoyed him bringing the BCC on as his backup. I think that's the kind of thing you want to run your program around. I think Mox is the kind of guy you want to run your program around. I wasn't so sure about it before because I didn't know what Mox was going to look like. I didn't know what kind of wrestler he'd be. But he's not doing jiu-jitsu, and so I think he's probably going to win the world title here.
I feel like they thought Bryan could hang on longer physically than he could, because I know everyone's like WrestleDreams in Washington, but I still thought like World's End just felt like the end, and then like started fresh in January. Um, I feel like Moxley is going to win, because if he doesn't win, then where does he go as this
Yeah.
ultra violent character that's been just, fucking shit up? And then if he can't get it done against Bryan, I
It's
don't
been his
really
one
see.
goal, His
Yeah.
one goal has been, I'm going to take that title. I'm going to make AEW into the vision I want it to be. So for him to not do that feels like you're kind of lessening his impact in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is it worth asking, do you think we get Shane McMahon? Because the chat are mentioning Shane McMahon. Here comes the money.
No, please no. I think I'm kind of smelling some things that it could happen eventually, but I don't want to see it at all. It's something that I think would just be like genuinely devastating. So for that reason, I'm gonna like I'm even if they tell me that it's going to happen, I'm just gonna close my eyes, put my hands in my ears, la 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 la, and just like not be aware of it happening. I'm just gonna kind of ignore it for a while.
I think I do think Shane's involved, and I'm like you. I I would be devastated. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a good idea. I know that because like Shane McMahon's basically a meme wrestler too. I know that a lot of people like want the shock of it, the
People
like
convince
fun of it.
themselves.
I don't want it at all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm firmly against it for many, many reasons. Not because of, like, I don't hold anything against Shane. I think he's probably like fine, but I'm just like, why would you want to get involved with having any McMahon in your
Yeah.
company? Why would you
That
want to just that connection, like inserting yourself into like family drama of this family is not something that I'd be doing. And you absolutely are
yeah.
if you're getting in bed with Shane, like you are, because he's not Shane is not coming to AEW because he loves his family and his sister and brother-in-law so much. Like, if if he was in a good
Yeah.
place there, he wouldn't be doing it. So why would you want to bring that in as the
I agree.
opposition?
He's going here. If he were to go to AEW, he's going there to spite the new regime. That's
Yeah.
what he's doing it for, because they don't want to hire him. And I
Hmm.
think if I outside of everything else with him being Shane McMahon, just in general, the last time that we saw him step into a wrestling ring, he had to get saved by Snoop Dogg because he
Yeah.
tore both of his legs in half, tore
Yeah.
every muscle in his legs. You're not gonna get anything out of Shane McMahon. It's not gonna be fun. I think the audience does not want to see it. People will convince themselves, "Oh, it'll be really funny. I'm gonna laugh so hard." No, you're not. You're gonna hate it
No.
2 weeks in. I'm telling you, it's
Hmm.
very, very bad. I think Shane. People kind of know how we feel about Shane. I think there's another person that we could potentially see debut here or another time soon. I think the War Master might have to come to play. Josh Barnett, he could be involved something
No.
like this. I don't know. I'm just seeing things. Moxley mentioned a War
Josh
Master.
or Shane. Because I can't forgive Josh Barnett for that incident with Jay White where he knocked JR over. Um, like, I've held that against that man for so long because, like, Josh's reaction was uncalled for. And when you hear like Jay talk about it, I'm just like, fucking Josh Barnett. Um, I wouldn't give Josh Barnett the time of day.
Mhm. Yeah.
I want it to just be that Moxley is the leader of this, and
Yeah.
he's just like talking in riddles because he's that kind of guy, but there's actually no um higher power or
Yeah.
benefactor or
It was
anyone.
me all
It's
along.
yeah,
None of
it's
that.
Moxley and Marina Shafir kicking ass and Pac and Claudio. Please no Shane McMahon. But
Yeah.
do I think Tony's like, how do I phrase this? Because I don't want to say dumb enough to do it, but like,
You could say that though. You could probably
yeah,
say that.
I think he is. I think he's
Yeah.
totally someone that would be like taken in by Shane,
Yeah.
and just not see like what Shane's ulterior motives are. Not that I think that Shane is like a evil person wanting to bring down the company, but he is motivated by how he feels about WWE and how he feels about his family's company and his dad and his sister and his brother-in-law. And I just like, I wouldn't want to get into any of that with him, you know?
Yeah, I think Tony, like you said, he's, hate to say it, but he's probably is dumb enough to do it. He's like, we can all see it, but it doesn't seem like Tony sees the same things we see in a lot of these cases. It's very scary. There's also someone else that we should mention with this main event here, because Wheeler Yuta is being built up into a central part of this story, and I really like Wheeler Yuta. I think he's great whether he's a face or a heel, but I did see some mentions in the chat that maybe he could turn on Danielson and that could cost him the world title here.
I just feel like Wheeler, I think we're past the point where he can turn and it makes sense. If you know what I mean? Like that's
after yesterday getting beat down and stuff.
Yeah, I do. And I think I kind of like Wheeler to stay good. And if Bryan is going bye-bye for a while, it'd be nice to have Wheeler there, like carrying on his memory.
Yeah, I'd like that too. He's been doing the cattle mutilation, stuff like that. I'd like for him to kind of do more of that sort of thing.
So we both decided on Mox winning?
Yeah, I think we're both riding with the Death Rider.
Mox wins. Whatever happens after that, we don't know. And it could be very, very scary.
It could freak
me out. It could be a wrestle nightmare.
It could be. I could start crying on my couch. Who knows? I'm not so sure anymore. But I know that the match will probably be a fun time. I think Moxley winning the belt is probably a good idea. Like you said, what comes after is what comes after. We're just doing WrestleDream. We're not predicting the future. We're just doing WrestleDream.
We're just doing WrestleDream.
Yeah.
Well, Novi, thank you so much. I want you to tell everyone where they can find you online, where they can follow you, where they can support you, where they can check out all your awesome content.
I'm doing a lot of different things. So I'm at Noviak on YouTube. I post new videos every Saturday, and I go live every Wednesday. And on occasion, we do match reviews on Mondays. I post a lot of different kinds of content. I talk about AEW. I've talked about New Japan. I talked about every wrestling company under the sun. I like talking graps. That's what we do over there. I'm also on Twitter at It's Noviak. You can follow me over there. I tweet about wrestling very often because that's what we got to do. We're part of the universe. And then also I do a lot of podcasts over at the Late Night Grin. You can find that on my Twitter as well. We're doing a show tomorrow. No, yeah, it's Wednesday, so tomorrow. We're going back in time. We're relighting the fuse at 8 p.m. EST, and we're going to do AEW Double or Nothing 2019. We'll be with Caden, who you've seen on this channel probably a few times if you've been watching Fightful, and that should be a very fun time. I'm very excited for it.
Awesome. Well, everyone, go follow Novi. As I said, I love your videos, and I came across them, and I just think that the way you break down wrestling and talk about it is just so great, and it's great to hear like a fresh voice and analyzing it. And yeah, it's been great to have you on a show and get to actually talk to you and break down an AEW show. Yeah. And guys, thank you so much for watching. You can find me over on YouTube at Stephanie Chase Wrestling. I'm going to go live tonight and talk about Dynamite. I'm going to go live at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is when we should have been watching Dynamite, but we weren't. This week just threw everyone off, didn't it? Everyone
feels so weird. It's always so weird on Tuesdays. I just don't know how. Now I got a free Wednesday, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, so I've got to review Dynamite. So join me for that tonight. I'm on Twitter at Stephanie M. Chase, Substack Stephanie Chase. And my next prediction show is Crown Jewel, WWE Crown Jewel. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. So join me then on Fightful. But until then, bye.